Stuff Among Other Things weekly podcast with your hosts Nicholas Miller and Bruce Stewart.
Hey everybody, welcome to Stuff Among Other Things, where we talk about stuff.
And other things.
I'm Nick.
I'm Bruce.
And today we're going to dive into the deep blue wonder of literature.
Yeah, books. We haven't done anything like that yet. I was actually kind of surprised when you brought that topic up. I thought we had done it, and we hadn't. So
Well, it feels like we've been doing this a lot longer than we actually have been doing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like we've been doing this a long time, but this is only episode 8.
Yeah, it's getting more natural now.
It is.
It's not any less awkward, but more natural somehow.
Yeah, there's definitely some awkwardness, but not awkwardness. Yeah, but anyhow, as we do every single week, pretty much, with the exception of last week, or the heavy topics, we usually do a list of our favorite books. Well, not every week we do the favorite books. We do a list of our favorite things.
Yeah, kind of give you an idea of how we stand, because this is kind of our thing. It's our opinion, so it's good to know where we come from to see why we're delivering our opinion, and I think that's where we're going to start this week. I will admit right off the bat that I am not the heavy reader that I kind of wish I were. So this is going to be, I think this is going to be more of your thing than mine, but we'll both have our discussions. We will, and I am going to just go ahead and dive right in and start with you. So, books, what are you reading?
Right now, just for the fact that I am a huge Neil Gaiman fan, digging into Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. It's an older book. It's from 1990, I think. It's basically a comedy about the apocalypse. Fun fact is there's actually a Amazon series that's getting ready to come out, I think, next month called Good Omens. It's based completely off the book.
Okay.
And I've been trying to get through this thing for a year?
Oh, wow.
2 years. It's one of those where you read a couple pages, you put it down, you forget to pick it up for a few weeks, and it's like, well, I better reread what I had. And you never get past
at the same spot.
You never get past like chapter 3, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm whittling through that. I have a hard copy that I have in my my little briefcase, and I do have the audiobook that I've been listening to back and forth.
Okay.
But pet peeve. The guy reading the audiobook is hardcore British. Okay. Not that I have a problem with British people. Trust me, I don't have a problem with British people at all. But for a country that invented English, it is so hard to understand what they're saying sometimes. You know?
Okay. Yeah, he's got the old blimey thing.
Yeah, like it's like hard. What is it? Cockney?
Yeah, I was trying to think of the word. Yeah.
I think that's probably the most appropriate way of describing it. But
do you know if the author, him or herself, who was it again?
Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett.
Okay, is he English? Or
he is.
So that's appropriate.
Well, I don't know about Terry Pratchett, but Neil Gaiman certainly is. He's one of the ones that I can listen to on an audiobook. He has a very posh British accent.
Oh, okay.
It's very proper, and it sounds really, really good. And he just has a way of storytelling that makes me happy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What are you reading?
So actually, I just started reading a book. It was actually a month ago, but I haven't picked it up back since whenever I flew out to Texas. Took it with me to read, and then had some turbulence. We had a nighttime flight, so I kind of couldn't read without keeping the light on and bothering whoever was sitting next to me.
I need to get you a book light.
Yeah, I really do.
It's one of the most underrated things ever.
Yeah, that would have been quite handy, but so I just set it off to the side. But right now, I just started, and I had to look it up to remember the name of it because I forgot. Love of Life by Jack London. And I've read a few of the other Jack London stories over the years, and I really appreciate his writing. He's got a very nature-specific writing style that is really good. So I'm only like 6-8 pages into this. I can't really say anything about it yet. All I know is there's like 2 guys and they're walking through the wilderness. That's as far as I got.
Well, that's pretty much every single Jack London.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah, it's like there's trees. Yes, I know, but which one?
Yeah. And one of them sees a wolf in the distance at a mountain.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, and I really enjoyed his other stuff. So that's what I'm gonna rock out to Jack London whenever I pick it back up. It's sitting right in front of me, so I'm hoping that when I'm done, I don't leave it there on the computer stand.
Well, I highly recommend doing the whole like Audible audiobook thing.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that later into this, and
Yeah.
I have questions for you. So
Okay.
so when that comes up, I'll definitely run that by you.
It's the way to go, man. I'm telling you. Anyhow, moving on. I guess next up is going to be the actual list of favorite books that we both have.
Yeah.
Do you want to take it up?
Yeah, I will, because mine's quick and easy. It's literally every book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series.
That's awesome.
Love that series. So yeah, it was always described as a trilogy in 5 parts because there were supposed to be 3 books and he wrote 2 more. And I think that somebody else picked up after he passed away and wrote a 6th book, but I never read it. I always read the original 5. But Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, which, funny, I don't know if you've ever read it or not.
No, I haven't read that one.
I'll spoil this for you. And
Oh yeah, spoiler alerts.
yeah, I guess there will be. The Restaurant at the End of the Universe does not specify distance; it's time. So it's a really interesting concept, and it's anybody that's getting ready to read this is probably pissed at me now. But yeah, it's an interesting concept.
Well,
so it's really cool.
I love the idea of space being so big that you have to do it in time.
Yeah,
Like
space time.
Well,
yeah.
they came out with that image of the first black hole.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, it is 55 million light years away.
Right.
So when, like, what we're seeing now happened during the time of the dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's so cool.
It is.
I love the idea of it.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
anyhow, continue.
So anyways, yeah, and then the rest of the books, Life, the Universe, and Everything, which everybody obviously, knows the 42 reference.
Yeah.
So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, and then Mostly Harmless. So I just love Douglas Adams. I love his kind of dry humor and wit, or that he had. I guess I have to speak in the past tense. He's no longer with us, unfortunately, but always appreciated his writing style, and that particular series of books, I ended up reading it during a very transitional part of my life where I was really. You can hear my kid in the background, can't you?
I love that.
Yeah, I was kind of discovering myself, so it was good to read an adventure story whenever I was kind of on my own little adventure.
Yeah. Well,
so-
I mean, you also had, like, the whole you going to the wilderness thing, you know?
yeah,
It was
that's
you-
exactly it. Yeah.
It was you connected.
Yeah, I'm reading a story about being in space while I'm meanwhile in my own little, far off adventure. So yeah, it made it. There were a lot of parallels that I was able to draw from.
Well, I have a lot of that kind of thing in my list, but we'll get over that whenever I come to.
Yeah, actually, I want to hear your list because that was my list. That was my entire all of my favorite books was one giant series of 5 books. Now there are others that I've appreciated, and I'll get into them more in other
Right.
throughout this section. But those, as far as favorites, if I'm going to classify something, that's them.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, my list is on the larger side. I do love to read. Problem is, I don't have a lot of time to actually read, so that's where I was saying audiobooks come into big play with me because my mother watches our kid full time whenever we're at work. Problem is, we're in one town, she's in another.
Nice little,
so
almost half-hour drive.
yeah. One way is a half hour, but it's cool because most audiobooks are in the 10 to 15 hour range. So in half a month, I can have a book.
Yeah,
just
that's
driving back and forth
good use
listening
of
to
time.
it. Yeah. Same thing with driving to work. It's another 15 minutes every single day.
Oh, Amy's watching. Hi, Amy.
Hello.
Oh yeah. For the sake of the recording, we're also live streaming this. Right
Yeah,
now, so anybody listening later on.
We are live streaming
on Facebook.
On
so-
Facebook. This will be posted to YouTube once everything's all said and done. I'll figure out a way to download it off of that and put it onto the thing and do the whatchamacallit,
Yeah,
the doodad.
the stuff that I don't know how to do.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. But
what else is
anyhow,
on your list?
like I said, huge Neil Gaiman fan. I actually have a couple of his books that are listed as my favorites. American Gods. That is a big one. That took me a long time to finish. It's a rather lengthy book, but the idea behind it is really, really cool. It's about a guy named Shadow, and he is a prisoner in the U.S. prison system. And he gets a message from the warden saying, "Hey, got bad news for you. Your wife just died. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to have you pardoned, but you don't have a wife anymore."
Wow.
Yeah. So the guy's going back home to set up the funeral arrangements and whatnot. And this guy on the plane, like this older guy, kind of, the way they describe him kind of reminds me of Colonel Sanders.
Okay.
He knows everything about this guy on the plane. Never met him before ever. So it freaks him out to the point where he gets off the plane, watches the plane take off to at a layover, and he ends up stopping in a dive bar, and while he's using the bathroom at the dive bar, the guy walks in.
Whoa.
And offers him a job. Well, no, I don't. Do you want me to spoil it?
You might as well, yeah.
It turns out that he's actually Odin.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's about a battle of the gods.
Okay.
And like a whole culmination of him getting involved with all these different gods that are going to war.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I highly recommend that one.
Yeah.
Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. That's another big one. Guy ends up kind of like stuck in the underverse under London that no one knows about.
Okay.
Yeah, and like his entire existence is turned upside down. That one was amazing as well. Basically, anything by Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, I noticed a trend there.
Yeah. He makes me happy.
Good writing's good writing.
Oh my god, he's good.
Yeah.
And I love his voice. I'm gonna play you something later.
Does he do his own?
He does do his own narration sometimes.
Oh, okay. That's kind of cool.
The American Gods one I absolutely love because it's done by a full cast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's like
one
there's like 20 or 30 people that do it.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Anyhow, moving on a little bit, another one of my favorite authors, Andy Weir. A lot of people don't really know who he is. He's not a household name. You would know him as the author of a book that was also a movie called The Martian.
Oh, okay.
With Matt Damon.
Yeah.
The book is so much better than the movie because it goes on and on and on and just drones on about the technicalities of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
movie has to compress all that to 2 hours.
Exactly. Yeah. They have to put a whole thing into it, but just the first line of the book. Well, I'm pretty much effed.
Really?
Yeah.
Just right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate, just punches you in the mouth.
Nice.
I love that. He also did another space-themed book. It's his newest book called Artemis. It's about a girl that's living on the moon. There's a moon base where like only like the rich and famous are allowed to live for the fact that it costs so much to live there.
Makes sense. It's like the new Beverly Hills.
Exactly, but you still have to have the lower class taking care of the crap and all that stuff.
Okay.
And it's about a heist on the moon.
Oh.
Yeah, that one was really good. Going off of the whole space theme, you're gonna notice there's.
I did, yeah. I was just thinking about like you definitely like space themed stuff.
Oh my god,
I do
yeah.
too, so
like when I saw the whole black hole image, I was.
Yeah, that was sweet. That is so cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
Congratulations to all of the scientists involved in that. That is quite a feat. That is
right. And it's the Global Telescope Array. It was like 8 telescopes based all across the planet. They even had one down in Antarctica.
Wow.
Right? That's so cool.
Yeah.
But anyhow, there's a couple more that go along with it. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, okay.
He's my homeboy. I love him.
Could I comprehend anything he writes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, he dumbs it down.
One I think you would love is Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. It's one of his newer books.
All right.
The audiobook is only 4 hours long. It gives you an idea. It covers all the basics of astrophysics. It explains it in a way that people that have never experienced astrophysics can comprehend.
Okay.
It's wonderful.
That's a feat.
Yeah. And
That's impressive.
And it's short, which is the cool part.
Yeah.
Thus the in a hurry kind of deal. Think of it like the cliff notes of it.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
I also love where he did the Plutophiles, the rise and fall of America's favorite planet.
Okay, Pluto, yeah.
Because he was part of the whole deciding factor of whether or not it should be considered a actual planet.
Oh, he was in on that.
Or if it would be a dwarf planet.
Right.
So, long story short, he thinks that it's so much better to call it the king of the the Kuiper belt.
Okay.
The belt of asteroids that's around it versus being the smallest planet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
it's the biggest of the littles.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I did want to throw on a memoir, Easy Street the Hard Way by Ron Perlman.
Oh.
It's his memoir from his beginnings to where he's at now.
Side note, somewhat related to him. Did you see that the new Hellboy is tanking in the ratings?
Oh,
it's got like a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, did you see the comparisons they were having? They had a picture of Ron Perlman as Hellboy, and next to it is like a can of Coke. And then they have the new one. Yeah. Whoever's playing that one doesn't matter. I'm not going to watch it. It's next to a can of RC Cola. Hashtag not my Hellboy.
Yeah.
But
anyways.
Yeah. Anyhow.
So Ron Perlman's autobiography.
Yeah. His memoir. Which it's fantastic, and his audiobook is narrated by him as well.
Oh, cool.
So
he's literally talking to you.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool.
I do love the classic Dracula by Bram Stoker.
Oh, okay.
I think that it's very, very well written, especially being at a completely different time than me.
That's what I was wondering. Is it like kind of Old Englishy, or is it current enough that it's...
It is Old Englishy, but it's written in a way where it's not like ye old Englishy.
Oh, okay. So
you know what I
mean?
Yeah. You can still follow along.
Oh, okay.
It makes a lot of sense. I think I bought the audiobook for $1.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, after that amount of time, I think isn't it considered to be like public license?
Domain or something.
Yeah, public domain, something along that kind of line.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically just paying for the person reading the book.
Right.
And last but not least on my list, I threw on Damned by Chuck Palahniuk.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't know who Chuck Palahniuk is. He's one of those kind of people that's not a household name. You would know him best as the person that wrote the book Fight Club.
Yeah, which we won't talk about, I guess.
Well, that's the second rule of Fight Club. Ignore that photo that I sent you about... Yeah, well, never mind.
Yeah.
Inside joke, sorry about that. Oh my god, I'm going to hell. Straight. But hey, speaking of which, that's what the book is about. Mm-hmm. It's about a girl who wakes up in hell. And basically, she's trying to, live her afterlife, as it were, and try and, figure out what this whole hell thing's about. And she ends up creating her own army and taking on the gates of hell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She rips off...
like pulls a Lucifer on Lucifer?
Kinda, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
She rips off Hitler's mustache.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool.
If you're gonna write that book, you have to have that scene.
It was pretty inventive. Actually, that book was the reason that I started writing my own. That's based along the same kind of line. I don't know if we'll dive into that at all today.
You can always do a little shout out to yourself.
It's not finished. Yeah. It's a work in progress. We'll get to that later. Yeah. That's basically what I have on my list. What's the next thing on our list?
Our next list, we're going to talk about ideal book lengths, preferred book lengths. Personally, I really don't care as long as the book holds me. If it keeps me in tune. I've read fairly large books. One book in particular that isn't very long at all that I kind of struggled through a section of because it was really dry right in the middle was 1984, George Orwell.
Oh, right.
And I read it. It was really intriguing at the beginning, and in the middle,
AKA Exactly What We're Living.
Yeah, it's the new documentary from 100 years ago. And but in the middle, it got a little dry, and it was taking. I had to force myself to get. Like when I read Animal Farm by him, I was riveted all the way through. I loved Animal Farm, which is also very accurate to today. Like he was definitely Nostradamus in his writing abilities. But 1984 was a little dry for me, and it's not a very big book. I mean, that's like an afternoon read. I think I literally read it in one day. But I had to make myself get through like 3 or 4 chapters.
Right.
Whereas I've read much larger books. Like when I did The Hitchhiker's Guide, I have it in a it's like a Bible. It's all 5 books in one, and I read them as if it was one. I literally couldn't really tell you much about what individual books because I just went from right through 1 through 5. And I had no issue through it because I love that writing. So for me, I really don't care. I think a shorter book today in my life will be more helpful. I'm more likely to finish it. I'm probably not even going to tackle a very large book because I'm always going to be like, I'll never get through that.
Well, I think with me and you, being, parents to toddlers.
Yeah.
When do we have time to sit down and read a novel this thick? You know what I mean? There's not enough time in the day, and I don't know about you, like whenever I get off work, the last thing I want to do is, focus.
yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, sometimes my eyes are just tired.
Yeah.
So for me, it's shorter books are probably preferential just for the sake of logistics, just to be able to take the time to do it. But ultimately, a good book can be War and Peace length if it's good, and I will eventually get around to finishing it. It's just take me longer.
I think that was the whole thing with like me and American Gods. Is it like the audiobook is like 22 hours long?
Wow.
Yeah, something along that kind of line. It's hefty. You you have to dedicate time for this. Right. You know. I like the idea of something like that if it can keep my attention, but ideally I would say a 300 to 400 page paperback is my ideal size. Yeah. Something that I can actually hold in my hand, something that has a little bit of girth to it. Yeah. Something that feels substantial, not just a short poem or something.
Right, yeah, like a novella type thing.
Yeah, which I don't have a problem with novellas as long as it's powerful enough that it only requires a few amount of pages. Yeah. Yeah,
you don't want to make it short for the sake of being short.
Exactly. By the way, this is probably going to be one of our shorter episodes. I feel like
we're 20 minutes. Well, yeah, we're like 20 minutes in. Yeah. So that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that.
We're going to record the amount that it requires for us.
Yeah. We don't have any intended video or
we kind of usually go about the hour range.
Yeah, we try to wrap them up once they hit an hour. We had a couple that were an hour and a halfers, but so we'll see. We'll see how this goes. It's fine.
But I just wanted to have that as like a disclaimer. Yeah. Anyhow, how do you feel about book series? Which I guess I already know the answer to.
Well, I mean, I love the one, but it kind of goes back to actually my answer from the last question is as long as it keeps me in tune. I don't like the idea of milking a character, or anything of that nature. Like, you really got to have a story to tell. One really surprising author, which I was going to name later on, but this harkens back to my childhood. This is really, in my opinion, one of the first authors that I really remembered the name of and paid attention to, and because I liked his work, was Gary Paulson, Hatchet.
Yeah,
everybody read that when they were 12 or whatever.
Good book.
And I loved Hatchet. I still like to this day. I mean, I guess I probably could have put that on my list of favorite books because it's a really fun little read.
This is our podcast.
Yeah.
It's on his list.
Yeah, there you go. And then at the end of Hatchet, it was wrapped up that if you haven't read it, the kid gets trapped in the wilderness of Canada, I think, and has to survive the summer. And then at the end of the book, he gets rescued, and then they decide to add on to that. So then they get Brian's Winter, and so then they have to start off with, well, let's say he didn't get rescued, and I'm like, well, okay, that's kind of weak, you should have kind of planned that, or
don't backtrack.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what if it didn't happen?
Don't have an ending and then backtrack your ending.
Exactly.
For an alternate universe.
It's almost as bad as just using aliens, But but I liked Brian's Winter. It was a great book. It really was. It was good. It was a good second book. It's just it was a second book to a book that should have only been a single book.
Right.
And then there was one after that. I don't even remember the name of it, but it wasn't that good. It was definitely forced. Like, I think maybe his publisher was like, listen, we got to really milk this Hatchet Cal for every dollar we can.
Hey, we're getting money off of this.
Yeah, because he gets rescued in the second book, even though he got rescued in the first book. And then they were like, well, now we're gonna have a book where he gets I can't remember. Somebody have to kind of double check me on this, but I think it was a news company or something wants him to recreate the adventure that he had. Like, they fly him back to the area for them to show it, and then they get stranded. So it's like the first book again, and that killed it for me. I was like, I loved the first book. I tolerated the beginning of the second book because of how good the rest of that book was. I don't care about this third one. Like, you're really killing this.
Right.
So a series can be yay or nay. I've never read Harry Potter. In fact, until this year, I never saw any of the movies. I just finally picked them up a couple of months ago. We blasted through all of them in a marathon over several weeks. I know a lot of people love those books, as far as the series goes. So I think they have their strengths as long as the story needs it. If it necessitates that kind of length, and it can be, you don't want the same book 5 times in a row. You need to have enough differences or character development. I think is extremely crucial to that. So I'm okay with a series as long as it really needs to be, or if the author kind of plans it ahead of time and knows and isn't just like tacking on and tacking on and tacking on. Don't drone. I don't need 4 books of droning if I can get the story in 2 or 1.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I never got into series. It's not to have anything necessarily against them. It's just I never got into an actual series where there were multiple books where it's like, I can't wait for the next one to come out. Like you mentioned Harry Potter. Like, I have never read Harry Potter. I have never read it.
Never.
Seen the movies. Movies are okay, yada, yada, yada. But I started reading it, I'd say, 2 months ago. They came out with the Harry Potter Illustrated series. Sorry.
Amy's freaking out.
Yeah, that we're not. We don't.
You didn't need that. Anyways.
Sorry. Yeah. They came out with the illustrated ones, where it's a hardcover book, and every single page has, some kind of illustration going on.
That's cool.
They're not cheap. Each book is like $40.
It's probably very thick, I would imagine.
Well, it's actually not as thick as you think. It's probably about an inch or so, but it's a huge book. It's like, but we're reading that to Brady. She loves it. She calls it the Wizard Book. Yeah. So we read a couple pages, she dozes off. Next night, read a couple pages, she dozes off. So I'm slowly getting through Harry Potter at a toddler's pace.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I don't necessarily like series just for the fact that I don't have enough experience with books. I kind of relate it over to movies, where every time you have a sequel to a movie, they always have to introduce some new character, and it feels like the character or the actor that's playing that character has to, overact?
Yeah.
To try and make a statement, something along the kind of line, like, I'm thinking like the whole 9 yards and then the whole 10 yards. You introduce a new mafia character, he has to have like the big, thick horn ring glasses.
Right. Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, look at to get a little bit more current in the movies, like the Despicable Me movies.
Yes.
By the third one, you're like, holy crap.
Or one that I think that a lot of, like, if anyone has seen the newest Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I haven't, but I heard it's
the woman with the accent. Oh my.
Or Jar Jar Binks. That's a really perfect.
Oh God! Oh, example. Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. So you don't want those characters.
Absolutely. But once again, I don't have enough experience with it. Like, I guess the closest you could do with the series would be Damned by Chuck Palahniuk. Okay. Spoiler alert: at the end of the book, she ends up in purgatory.
Oh. And
that's where the next book takes over.
And it's called Purgatory?
No, it's called... the first one's Damned, the second one's called Doomed.
Oh, okay. That's like, slightly less.
Yeah.
But that's appropriate.
It's like she's putting in these journal entries. It's the way the books are written out. And every single journal entry begins with gentle tweeters. Every single page, gentle tweeters. Gentle tweeters, gentle tweeters. I don't know if she's like trying to write this on Twitter or she's just calling them tweeters. I don't know what the deal is.
That would be annoying.
I got about 6-7 chapters into it, and I literally couldn't take the book anymore.
Just because there's 2 words.
Yeah, well,
I would be the exact same way.
It's like Chinese water torture. All you tap, tap. You can't do it after a certain amount of time. It's
you try your best to skip them or not read them, but you have to read it. Yeah,
exactly.
I wouldn't care for that.
So I kind of steer more towards one-off books, but that's just me
personally.
Story. Yeah. Next question: what are your thoughts on movies based off of books?
Well, I mean, there's obviously the cliche, and I don't know if it is a cliche, because in my opinion, it's fairly accurate. But the book is better than the movie thing. Mm-hmm. In my experience, that tends to be accurate.
Oh, of course. They have an infinite amount of time to describe things in the greatest of details.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Like I was mentioning, the book is better than the movie for the movie The Martian. Yeah. Well, the book is always going to be better than the movie.
Right. Yeah. Just like with the book, you can say what the character is thinking on the screen. You can't be like, oh, gee, I'm thinking this. You
can, but Morgan Freeman has to be in the cast.
That's true. Yeah.
He has to be narrating.
But otherwise, yeah.
Or Samuel L. Jackson with a mother effer in there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I personally love the ability to get the detail into books, but I watch way more movies.
Yeah.
So which way do I go on that?
I like the idea that you have the movies versus the books, just for the fact I can dedicate 2 hours to a movie. That's something that I can watch in any evening.
Yeah, exactly. I can have like this dedicated moment for entertainment that can then end and be complete.
It's the cliff notes of the book.
Yeah,
I guess that you can consider it to be.
Yeah. So
honestly, just because it's so much more convenient,
right?
I'm going to always pretty much see the movie before I read the book.
Yeah. Just for example, I love sit-down, good quality steakhouses. I eat at fast food places more often.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not because I prefer a quick burger. It's because of the convenience.
It is easy. You can drive up in your car and say, "Hey, make me fatter while I sit here."
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No walking necessary. Yeah. So
God
I
bless
like
America.
it for that. So as much as I prefer the ideals or the idea of reading books, ultimately it's a better experience. I don't have a lifestyle that really genuinely affords that for me, and I don't even drive that far for work. So as an audiobook, it'd take me 2 years to read because I drive like 15 minutes and I'm done. So for me, movies based on books, actually, because there's another side to this question. If they don't screw it up, you get a lot of people that are just not happy with movies changing books, completely different ends. Like, look at what happened with The Watchmen. That movie, in my opinion, I actually, and I never read the book, unfortunately. I had a friend that read the book and explained to me the differences, and there's supposed to be like this giant octopus or something that like destroys everything. I don't know, whatever it is.
Cthulhu.
The book's ending did not appeal to me as much as the movie did.
Right.
I'm not that big of a comic book buff. I don't really care necessarily for Zack Snyder, but I didn't at the time even know who he was. But for me, like, I feel like he made a better movie or a better story with this movie than he would have had he stayed true to the book. But the fans obliterated him. They hated him. They hated the movie. They panned it. Got terrible reviews. It went down as just a crap movie.
Well, it's amazing what reviews can do. Like, look what happened whenever the new Ghostbusters movie came out. You had all those people that are like, "What female Ghostbusters? Burn this movie!" And they tanked it.
Before anybody had a chance to see it.
Exactly.
Everybody decided
it was actually kind of funny. There's some.
I never saw it, so
it's on my Voodoo account, so you'll have to check that out.
Because I steal things.
Yeah, piracy is fun. Crap, what was I going to say?
We were talking about thoughts on movies based on books and the fact that some movies can screw up a story.
Oh, I know exactly what I was going to say. It all comes down to what kind of money and what kind of director they're putting behind it.
Right.
Like if you see something that comes out for what's that horrible movie company for the Sci-Fi Channel where they make like Sharknado, I can't remember it, like The Castle or something. The Asylum. It's The Asylum. Oh my God, horrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah, as soon as you see that, it's gonna be bad. But like if you start it up and you see like a Paramount mountain in the background, it's like, oh, they got some money behind this,
right?
And then you always have like here, who was the guy that did the movie Get Out?
Peele.
Yes.
Yeah, Jordan Peele.
Yeah, you see his name in it, it's going to be fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Versus seeing a movie that has the name M. Night Shyamalan.
Or Michael Bay.
Big explosions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like, I think a good story can absolutely just be screwed up by the direction and the production company and then, what they're trying to sell.
It all comes down to what they think is going to make the most money off.
Yeah, and that can really just screw up a story. But you get some authors, they chime in. What was the Mary Poppins? I cannot remember the lady's name that wrote that. She hated that movie. She absolutely hated the fact that Walt Disney did that. I think they made a movie not too long ago and like Tom Hanks was in it, and they lightened that up so much that she was like
saving Mr. Banks.
Yeah, and they were like, well, she didn't care for it, but in the end, no, the real woman hated that. She absolutely hated what they did with the character. She refused to let Disney do anything else with any of her other material because of that.
That's awesome.
And you get,
bravo.
Like Stephen King has come out and he's appreciated some of the movies that have been made from his books. He's not cared for some of them as well. There was one, I can't remember which movie it was not too long ago, but the director did change the book, or the ending, I mean, and Stephen King said that it was the better ending. He admitted that the movie...
See, that's cool.
Yeah, no, he was like, I prefer that ending over my own written ending. So, I think the best thing to try to do, and obviously money is going to take over this. It's not going to be about this, but I think if movie production companies could kind of get the blessing of the director, make sure that, they're not straying too far. Look how much J.K. Rowling was involved in Harry Potter. The whole reason that certain people weren't in those movies is because she demanded that the entire cast be British. There were a lot of American actors that were trying to get in on that movie that they just, nope, not happening.
Yep, pretty much.
So I think movies based on books can be great, can be a disaster.
I think for me, it's a good thing, and it's more of a preview for what I can get into.
Yeah, it gives you a taste for it.
It's a good trailer for a book.
Oh, for me, not to keep beating this dead horse, but
that's fine.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy gave me faces to put with names.
Yeah.
But in the movie, the character of Zaphod Beeblebrox, in the books he has two heads. He has two separate heads. And in the movie, they made his second head like his neck. Like he had to look up, and then like his neck had another face.
I remember that.
And I didn't care for that. Like that ruined that aspect for me.
I thought it was a devil's chin the whole time.
Yeah.
And then I'm self-conscious because I'm on the bad side.
Yeah. So I'm like, that was silly. But then I really loved Ford Prefect. Mos Def playing Ford Prefect. I loved him in that role. He was like a white guy with red hair in the books. And Mos Def killed it. Like he is Ford Prefect for me. So it gave me the ability to kind of put faces to names and whatnot. But ultimately, I hated the movie because I'd already seen the book or already read the book whenever the movie came out, and it was just like, well, they put all 5 books into one movie. It was awful because they crammed so much.
It was the Suicide Squad.
Oh, okay.
Where they jammed everything.
Oh, yeah.
Into
and they're throwing these rapid fire, like here's this character, here's this character, here's this character, and like here's a little bit of story, and like in the end, and like even the beginning of the book versus the beginning of the movie, whenever they come to destroy Arthur Dent's house, in the book that section, I think it was a whole chapter or whatever. I mean, it was just so well written. It was so funny. And then in the movie, it was like glossed over. And I'm like, that was so paramount to the story. It was such a good way to kind of set it up and show you who he was. And they still did it in the movie, but it wasn't nearly the effect. And I don't know that you could physically make that kind of transition from book to film.
They have that kind of budget?
Yeah, exactly. But, movies based on books, yeah and no. I mean, I'm not either for or against. I think I'm just good. I'm for whatever's good.
Yeah.
If you take a good book and make a crap movie out of it, everybody's going to be mad at you, even if you are cashing it in at the end of the week.
Well, it just seems like there's a certain point where no one has any original ideas for movies anymore.
It's few and far between, man.
At this point,
sequel and prequel city and spin-offs.
It's always a reboot of some movie from the 60s or 70s. Mm-hmm. There's millions of movies that are like that now.
Right.
They're just recycling.
Yeah. But I mean,
that's what DC is, just recycling the same movie. Sorry,
but to be fair, I mean, if you go back far enough, though, it's happened for years. I mean, how many stories are out there that are based on Hamlet? The Lion King is based on Hamlet. Mm. So it goes back far enough that you get that in literature as well and other media.
Right.
But, it can be good or bad. I think I'm going to stick with, I don't have an answer to that. The whole, how do you feel about movies based on books? It's like, it's
50-50.
Yeah. It's circumstantial.
Yeah. I was going to get into like the whole like who is your favorite author, who is your favorite character kind of thing, but I think we kind of covered that.
Yeah. I mean, I can throw my answers out there real quick, but it's Douglas Adams. It's right back to the Hitchhiker's Guide stuff, and that's where I wrote down Gary Paulson, but we already talked about Hatchet, so I don't really need to. And obviously, we know yours as well if you want to throw them out there. But
I'll just read my list again. But
right,
moving on a little bit, just keeping things.
Which actually, hold on, no, I do want to touch on the favorite character thing.
Sure.
I had no answer for that.
Right on.
None. Like there's like I have different books that have characters within them that I like, but I cannot give you a single specific favorite character answer.
Fair enough. I think I'm pretty much in the same boat.
Yeah, like I was when I read that in the outline, I'm like, oh, that's really cool, but no. I got nothing. Yeah. So yeah, we can move on from that. If anybody else out there has a specific favorite character, please let us know. I'm curious. I mean, I would imagine, not to keep going back to that, but Harry Potter has to hit some lists.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, say what you want about it, but it was a phenomenon. And they're still doing stuff with it. They have the spin-off.
They have a theme park.
Yeah, and then
it's
like
ridiculous.
Was it the Griswold thing or whatever it is? I can't remember.
Yeah. Now
there's like a whole nother series of movies based on stuff. So it's its own like entity. So yeah, I'm curious if anybody out there has a favorite character. Let us know. I am curious.
Absolutely.
Moving past that though, this is a good question. I really like that you posed this question. I'm going to throw it at you. What's your favorite part of reading? What's the best thing about reading?
Being able to escape reality.
Bingo! That was my answer. I knew you were going to say that, and that's exactly it. Yep.
Yeah, it's the fact that you can just drown everything out, and you can just throw yourself into this world that this person created.
Yeah.
And here's the cool part. You can describe something in the greatest detail as an author. Every single person that reads that is going to have a different picture in their mind.
Yeah.
So you can write a story, but if 10 people read your book, 10 people have created their own worlds.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's
literally the basis of every literature class in every college and high school in the country or around the world is dissecting these books and figuring out what it means to you versus what the author means.
Well, that's what I hate is like the professor always has, this is my idea of what this book is about.
Yeah.
Well, here's the fun part. It doesn't matter what the book means to you.
Right.
It all matters what it means to, yourself.
Right, yeah.
Like, who cares what this person is looking for you to say? Your own opinion is the only thing that matters to you.
Yeah. That's fair.
And there's so many different genres, there's so many different worlds.
Right.
And it's always different, and that's what I love.
Yeah, there's this kind of like this infinite cavern of abilities and ideas. You can read books about hell. You can read books about space. You can read books about anything.
Yeah, there's literally a book about everything.
Yep. Worst part.
Worst part, I'm going to have to say the dedication.
Okay. That was the second thing on my list.
Yeah, like if let's say for example I get up at 3 a.m. I go to
Good
work.
Grief. Getting up at the bright crack of dawn.
It depends on what the toddler's doing, But get up and go to work. I spend all day at work. I go home, pick her up, get her home, get her fed, get her into bed, blah, 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 blah. By the time that everything is done for the day, my eyes hurt.
Yeah, the day is over.
If I open up a book, I'm going to be asleep in just a few minutes because my eyes are just closing on themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not that I want them to, but I think that's the worst part is you have if you're a busy parent or if you're a busy person that doesn't have a whole lot of time, you have to make time in order to dedicate it. Like if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That was definitely my second pick on that list. The only thing that I put above that, and you know what? I don't even know if it's necessarily worse. Actually, your answer probably is the worst of the two. But just another negative facet of the thing is that you, unlike most other media, or at least popular media, video and audio like radio and things of that nature, it's very difficult to share the experience with others.
Yeah.
You can watch a movie with a friend and you can both laugh at the same spot. You can, my friend, listen to the song that I love. And you can, within 3.5 minutes, know whether or not they like it or if they're not cool. With a book, it's very difficult. Like how many times in your life have you read a really intriguing chapter in a book, and then you go to like tell somebody, and you realize like as you're telling them that this conversation is not even necessary because you're like, and then the character, let me back up, and then the reason for this.
It all comes down to how you can actually tell the story.
Yeah, exactly, and
it's regurgitating it.
It's so difficult to enjoy a book beyond yourself. Now, there's not necessarily a bad thing about that. You need me time. It's good to have just you and your own brain time. But if you really get excited about something, you almost have to be like, hey, you read this book and let me know in a month if what we're talking about today impacted you or not. So it's not a shareable experience. It doesn't need to be. It's good that it's not. It's just sometimes I want to share my enthusiasm over books.
See, I would love to be able to join a book club where you all like everyone reads a chapter over a week,
right?
And then you get back together and you kind of like talk about like how it meant to you and like what the major parts were, and you kind of compare it to everybody. But here's the thing: you have to have this group of people that all agree to read the same story.
You have to have this like-minded sense about it, like your particular interest in books are a little too eclectic, and I think sporadic or random for a book club. Like I think you'd have to join a different book club per book that
right, or I'd have to start my own and just look for other weirdos like myself.
Yeah, that's kind of a neat thing about books is there's just so many.
Pretty much. I guess that kind of covers the best and worst part.
Yeah.
Next question: hard copy or soft copy?
I tend to do better of reading with the soft cover books because I'm more likely to take it with me. I think I just don't value it as much. I'm like, whatever, it's a paperback. I don't really care. Like, I can pick up another one for $8, $10, $12, whatever it is. So I'm far more likely to read the story. Like the couple hardback books that I have are kind of like a little too precious for me. I really don't have any. I have one that's like, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's like a leather-bound book. It was like, I think it cost me like $50-$60 to buy that book. And so like,
but it's also going to be something you're going to be keeping for your entire life.
Yeah. That's so I tend to covet it, but then it's nice to be able to grab a paperback and take it with you and throw it in a bag and not get bent out of shape if a page gets bent or something like that. Like I don't go out of my way to destroy books, but if something happens to it, I don't want to be like, oh no, and so it gives me the freedom to read it.
Yeah.
What about you?
I absolutely hate hard copies.
Oh.
I really do. It's not for the fact that, it's like I'm afraid of it getting hurt, which of course I would be afraid of getting it hurt.
Yeah.
But most of your hardcover books are going to be coming with, a jacket over top of it.
Yeah.
The very first thing that happens when you open it up is the jacket goes whoop.
Yeah,
it pops out. So I always end up taking it off and setting it somewhere because I don't want it to get hurt because it's going to get bent in the first 5 minutes. And it requires you to sit there like holding the book in your lap essentially in order to support this versus a soft cover where you can just hold it with one hand.
Right.
But I'm in the same boat as you where you can just throw it in a bag, be ready to go. Like we went to the Ocean City last year and I wanted to have a couple of books that I could read out on the beach, so on and so forth. So I went and I bought some brand new books. I think I spent like $80 on books just for the beach, and one of them got thrown into a backpack, and of course, some wet clothes got thrown into there, some sand, and the cover kind of got jacked up a little bit. And I pull it out and I'll move the cable out of the way there. Sorry, everybody. Andrea's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that your book got screwed up." I'm like, "It's a beach book."
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal.
Rough and tumble. Yeah.
Yeah, because every time I pick up that book now and I see, it kind of being screwed up, I'm going to remember, hey, this is where I was when this happened.
That's a little like kind of keepsake. So, there's that's definitely turning a negative to a positive. That's
cool. like the same thing. Like last week, the week before, Brady ended up drawing on our dining room table.
Okay.
And the dining room table is the table that I actually made. I made it out of old barn wood and pallets, and it took quite a long time. I probably have 70, 80 hours invested into this table, and she's drawing on it. And Andrew's starting to freak out, like, oh my goodness, like your dad made this, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't care. because she's putting her mark on it.
Yeah.
Every time I see that mark, I'm going to be reminded of her.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I'm good with it.
That's cool.
I'll tell you the truth, I kind of encourage it. I encourage it, you know? It's just one of those deals.
Fair enough.
Moving off of that question, do you prefer print or do you prefer digital?
Print. Because of my... I don't like to use the terms like ADHD and stuff like that because it's a legitimate thing that I don't have. But my inattentiveness, you know, if I'm listening, I don't have like a Nook, like a specific like e-reader.
Right.
So if I'm reading something on my phone and then a notification pops up and then I'm checking Facebook or I'm texting somebody, you know, so it's really hard for me to like dial in. With a book, I'm just reading a book. My phone's in my pocket. So I definitely prefer, and I'm old school like that. You know, we've talked about this in the past. I still buy CDs. I'm just kind of like that old school, not in a hipster way. I'm just not with it.
You will be a hipster in like 20 years when CD players come back.
Yeah, there you go. And
Yeah.
I'll be like, look at this collection.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely prefer print. What about you?
Print.
Oh, okay.
Hands down. Like, don't get me wrong. I have a huge ebook collection. I probably have 400 or 500 books in my ebook collection. But the problem that I have with it is I can only get, you know, a few pages in, and then it's like, oh, hey, someone just sent me a message.
Yeah.
Hey, I better check this email. And you get sidetracked.
Exactly. Yeah,
you know?
I cannot focus on the digital stuff. And there is, in my opinion, nothing more impressive than walking into somebody's house and seeing a large collection of books. Like the respect level doubles right then and there. Like, I don't even care if they're all like, you know, Dr. Seuss. Just the fact that you have books makes me like you more.
But like I originally saw this one quote where people that own large televisions are rich, people that own large libraries are wealthy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a neat concept. Yeah,
I like it. Not for the fact that like they're like money wealthy, but more
Right.
knowledge wealthy.
Enriched, not
Yeah.
rich, but enriched.
Yeah. I thought that was a pretty cool way of describing it. So.
That's cool.
Plus, when's the last time you walked into a Best Buy and went like this? Ah, it smells great in here.
God, that sounds like a terrible idea.
You don't do that, you know. You walk into a bookstore and you smell that bookstore, and it's nostalgic.
Yeah.
You know, smelling a brand new book is probably one of the greatest things you can. Like, there's a couple things that like the smells are absolutely amazing. Fresh cut grass.
Okay.
Brand new baby. I don't know about you, but I love a brand new puppy's breath.
Oh my, that
Yeah.
sounds kind of gross, but okay.
It's true. It's a personal thing.
Yeah. Acquired.
Yeah, but I figure that's one of the guilty pleasures that I have is walking into a bookstore and just.
That's cool. That's an interesting thing I never considered.
Yeah. Wow, we're at 51 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Like, we're having a regular episode.
Yeah, pretty much. We only have 2 questions left, and one of them I don't even know the answer to. So let's move right along. What are your thoughts on illustrations in books?
And it kind of goes back to some of my other stuff. If it's necessary to tell the story, like, yes, but otherwise, like, I feel an author needs to be above a certain level. They need to kind of, there's a bar there, and if you need illustrations to tell your story, maybe you need to be a better author.
Right.
You know, not obviously kids' books are completely different than that. I mean, there's nothing better than reading a kid's book with your kid. But for adult books, they're not necessary. I really prefer to let my imagination do the job, you know, and I think that a proper author can tell the story and give you that imagery without giving you the imagery.
See, I like it to a certain extent. Like, let's say, for example, a puppy's breath is the best ever. That's right, Chris. It most certainly is the best ever. Booyah. Anyhow, what was I going to say? I completely...
About illustrations.
Yeah, okay. Let's say, for example, like you're creating this entire world where you're describing like the areas, this and that.
Yeah.
If it has a map in it, I think that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
That way you can see the border of like how they're setting things
Yeah,
up.
especially like in the Tolkien style where it's like this massive universe.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's appropriate.
Things along that kind of line. Then I think of books along the lines of like scary stories to tell in the dark.
Oh yeah.
Now
the original print, because they came back
Yes.
out with it later on. I made the mistake of ordering it on Amazon once, and I didn't realize it wasn't the original print, and I got it. I'm like, what is this crap? It's the same story. It was like different illustrations, and I gave it to some kid. But yeah, the original ones, those are wicked. I cannot wait until the new Guillermo del Toro movies come out.
It's gonna be so good. But also going along off of that, if you have a really good illustrator, a really good artist, and they do one illustration per, let's say, chapter.
You can have like the chapter headers.
Yeah, something along that kind of line. I think that it would fit into the style of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
It kind of puts a reader into a mindset. Yeah. But for something that's going to be illustrated, completely consistently, like I was mentioning the whole Harry Potter illustration thing, it's cool, but at the same time it's coming after the movies. It's coming a long time after the movies. Right. So for the people that have seen the movies, you're looking at
almost everybody.
Yeah, you're looking at these pictures and you're thinking to yourself, well, this isn't how I remember it being. I mean, obviously the illustrator is going off of what the book is, but the book is completely different than the movie. Yeah. So it's hit or miss. It really depends on the person. Yeah. But I'm for them to an extent. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah. When appropriate. Yeah. Not frequently do I consider them appropriate.
Don't overdo it.
Right.
You don't want to be the Nickelback of illustration. Anyhow, last question that I have is, what is the most important lesson you have learned from a book?
Yeah. You want me to take this one?
Yes, please.
I'll start with mine. It's to see the world from another person's perspective. To be able to read a book and be reading of a character's reaction to a situation or scenario, and they react differently than you would, and to kind of empathize with that person, and to realize that there are different people out there. I think that's a very important thing. It's the same reason that travel is important, to kind of, to make you realize you're not the center of the universe. Not everybody reacts like you, and sometimes their reactions are appropriate, sometimes they're inappropriate, but you can figure out why. So it's to kind of just get that other viewpoint of the world.
Right. For me, it's being weary of other people's feelings.
Oh, okay.
Like I have my own personal flaw. I have my own personal issue where I talk before I think, and
you're the only person I've ever met with that issue, by the way.
It's just one of those things where whenever you read a book, you're being introduced to what this person's thinking, what this person's thinking, what this person is thinking, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And you see how they all interact with each other. And which is cool because you're sitting back, looking at this whole scenario going on. But when you're actually talking to somebody, that doesn't happen.
Right.
You don't know what this person's thinking. You don't know what this person's thinking. The only thing that you know is what you're thinking. Right. And I'm the most important person, so I'm just going to go ahead and blurt it out without even having any consideration what you're thinking. And I think it's really taught me to, hey, Nick, shut up. Hey, Nick, think.
Yeah. Sometimes listening is a very important and not often enough used tool.
Yeah, the most important lesson I've learned from a book is just biting my tongue.
All right, that's fair. That is, I don't know that I've considered that, so that's pretty cool. Interesting.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, I think that pretty well wraps it up. I'm a little disappointed in myself in that I never once mentioned Thomas Harris in this whole thing. I didn't think about it until just the end because I didn't make any prior notes. But I can slide him way back into my list of favorites. I loved Thomas Harris. For anybody that's not aware, it's the Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter stuff. Yeah. So if you're into that gruesome stuff, his ability to give you goosebumps through the written word is pretty impressive. Yeah. But that was the only thing I wanted to shove in at the end of this video. But otherwise, I think that's it. That pretty well wraps it up. That gives us an idea of who we are as people and the kind of books we read.
If anyone wants to talk about books, please shoot us a message.
Yeah, books are more important than a lot of society really makes them anymore. I think just because of the other more convenient media styles and types out there. But grab a book, everybody.
Yeah, pick up a book, and I think if we all read more books than watched more movies, there would be a lot less people thinking the world is flat.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Yeah, so Chris, because I know he's watching the video, pick up Jack London, because you'll love it, because you're an animal lover, and there's a particular story by him. It's a short story. You can read it in like a lunch sitting. It's called Batard. It's about a dog it's literally named Bastard in French, and great book, Chris. So shout out to Chris specifically on that one. Make sure you pick up some Jack London. You'll love it.
I have one for Chris. Chris, anything that is written by Joe Hill.
Okay.
Joe Hill is phenomenal. That's his pen name. His actual name is Joe King.
Really?
Stephen King's kid.
Oh, okay. I thought you were making a pun. Or
no.
A joke or something, but
I love that that's the first thing you thought of.
Yeah, Joe King. I'm like,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of disappointed in that.
Well, I see why he went with a pen name.
Yeah.
I didn't know Stephen King even had a side. I don't know.
I think it'd be Joseph King,
Yeah.
but the same principle. You know, trying to step out of those shoes and fill your own shoes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't want to be known as Stephen King's kid.
No, goodness, especially if you're diving into the same world.
Exactly.
You really gotta step out.
But I highly recommend it. He's a phenomenal writer. I think you're going to love it. He's just as vile as his father is.
No, cool.
Yeah. But anyhow, that kind of wraps everything up.
Do you remember what our episode is next week? Because I don't. We usually talk.
I have notes.
A little hints of what we're going to do.
I did have notes.
If not, it might just be a surprise. I don't really care.
Okay. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be this one. There's two possibilities that we can do.
Oh.
So this is going to be reliant on the fans. Fan.
Chris.
Hi, Chris. It's either going to be A, important life lessons.
Oh.
And why they don't matter.
Oh. Oh.
Or time travel, baby. Huh?
We'll have to do like a poll or something.
We'll do a poll.
See what the
we'll throw a poll onto Facebook. We'll throw a poll onto Twitter. We have a Twitter. Yay.
Yeah. I don't, but we do.
We do. We don't post on it, but hey, we have one. Anyhow, thanks for
thanks.
all one of you that tuned in, and make sure you check us out on the web at stuffamongothersthings.com. We're going to have all of our episodes posted on there. You can listen to them right off of the web page. Shows you how to get them on iTunes or Amazon or Spotify or all the ABCs of podcasting and whatnot. So you have anything you want to say?
Nah, man, I'm good. I enjoyed this episode.
It was fun.
Yeah, it went longer than we expected. We thought it was going to be really short.
Yeah, we literally hit an hour.
It definitely drives me to want to read now. So I think whenever we're done here and we get this loaded up and stuff, I'm going to grab a book and dinner and enjoy that, because that's something I don't do enough, and this has really brought that back to me, how much I love it.
Exactly.
So thanks everybody for tuning in,
and we'll see you next week. Peace.
This has been the Stuff Among Other Things weekly podcast. For a complete list of episodes, visit us on the web at stuffamongoutherthings.com.